This week on Car Obsession, I channel my inner Picasso, there's plenty of penetration, and I find out how effective my rear shock absorbers are. That is FUBAR. Hello guys, welcome back to Car Obsession and once more to Bella, my FIAT Seicento Sporting. As you can see in front of me, I have some parts to be fitted. Oh yes, today is a big day for Bella. So I've got a Sportex exhaust, a used one that I bought from fellow YouTuber Miller Corner. I've got brand new TA Technix Coilovers to make her even lower. And I've also got some brand new Nankang NS-20 Tyres, which are in a 175 50/14 variety. So without further ado, let's get on with it. Just a disclaimer before the action kicks off, I'm not a trained mechanic, so this isn't strictly a how-to guide. However, if you do learn something from this or you find this video useful, then that is of course an added bonus. Now, those eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that Bella is sporting, no pun intended, new alloys. Well, new to me alloys. So I've got the Abarth 14-inch alloys, and I did actually fit new tyres to them the other week, but these are too wide. So annoyingly, I need to replace them again, and I need to try and sell these tyres on because they've covered about, I don't know, 3-4 miles of that. So yes, replace all 4 tyres again with the correct size. So yeah, let's go on with it, shall we? After replacing the tyres, I liberally sprayed the suspension bolts with penetrating oil whilst praying to the car gods to ensure the bolts come off with no issues. Just look at the state of those shock absorbers. It looks as if they've been recovered from the wreck of the Titanic. In case you're wondering what I'm using for the penetrating oil, I'm using BG in Force. I started off with the top mount nuts, which are 13mm. Note that on the near side of the car, the ECU is mounted and there is also a 10mm nut that holds the ECU in place. These nuts will be reused, so I'll put them aside for later. Yes, I'm using a needlessly long extension, but I used it for the ECU bracket nut and I couldn't be bothered to change it back over. I then removed the 2 bottom bolts on the strut using an impact gun with an 18mm socket on the bolt and a 19mm spanner on the opposing nut. Note, because of access for the bottommost bolt, you will need to use an extension. Once all of the bolts are removed, it's simply a case of dropping the strut out of the car, ready to take off the top mount and swap it over onto the coilovers. So as you can see, the old shocks are removed. not too difficult. The bolts were a bit stubborn, but they're just old and rusty, and I was kind of expecting that, but yeah, in the grand scheme of things, quite nice and easy. All 4 tyres have been replaced. I just need to balance the wheels a little bit later. So yes, as you can see, all stripped out, ready for the brand new shiny coilovers. Of course, I still need to do the rears. I've got a feeling the rears are going to be more of a pain in the backside than the fronts, because those bolts are quite easily accessible, but you've got bolts all the way up there. Can't even see it there, and as you can imagine, access is rubbish. There's probably a false widow hanging about there because there's a spider's web, and this car does seem to attract false widows. So yeah, if I don't make it out alive, it's nice knowing you. On the rears, you will need a 17mm socket, and you won't need the 19mm spanner that you can see I'm using here, but I realised quite quickly that I didn't need it. Make sure you have a jack under the suspension arm, as it will jolt down once the shock has been removed. As you will see here, I did have a transmission jack there, but it wasn't set quite high enough, but no one died, there were no dramas, no health and safety forms had to be filled out, we're all good. Access to the top bolt is tight, but as you can see, getting a ratchet in there isn't too much of a faff. Getting the rear spring out was a little bit fiddly and required a pry bar just to give it that extra bit of encouragement. So, rear suspension has been removed. It's a good thing I'm doing this because I've just compressed this rear shock absorber and it hasn't returned, so that is knackered. I mean, just look at the state of it. It's clearly not a new item, is it? So it's been on the car for a very, very long time and is only really fit for the bin. So yeah, that is FUBAR. Let's have a look at this one. Yeah, yeah. Both of those rear shock absorbers, they are past their sell-by date. The rear springs, though, as much as they have got a bit of surface corrosion on them, on the whole, they're not too bad. They're not exactly box fresh, but on the same hand, they're not quite as crusty as I would have expected. So these probably have been replaced at some point in the past, but those rear shock absorbers, yeah, they are questionable to say the least. Time for the shiny bits. Of course, fitting the new shiny parts is simply the reverse of the removal. Whilst I was sorting out the rear suspension, one of the actual professionals I work with set to work with the welder to make the necessary modifications to get the Sportex exhaust to fit with the rest of this stock system. With the rear springs in and the rear shocks in, I tightened the bolts to a torque setting of 49 Nm or 36 pound-feet. For whatever reason, that wasn't caught on camera, but rest assured they were torqued to the correct specification. With the rear suspension in place, I went back to the tyres to make sure they were balanced. Why I didn't do that after replacing them, I can't remember. There must have been some valid reason, I'm sure. Back to the front suspension, it was now time to swap the top mount from the old Struts assembly onto the coilovers, and for this you will need to compress the spring. This can either be done with manual compressors, which cost in the ballpark of around £20 to £40, but as you can see, I'm lucky enough to have access to a machine. Now, this is really important. Failure to do this properly can be catastrophic, so if you're not sure, please seek professional help. The top nut was removed using a 17mm socket. With the top mount swapped over, it was time to fit the lovely shiny coilover to the car. It's worth noting these coilovers have an elongated hole at the bottom, which allows for adjustment for the camber. I'm not looking for that static look, so I've made sure the struts were pushed into the hub as much as possible to try and get the wheels to be as upright as I could get them. With the front coilovers fitted, the two bottom bolts were torqued to 88 Nm, or that's 65 pound-feet. Okay, so time for the moment of truth, the drop. Now, one thing I have realised very quickly is that yes, this will definitely need an alignment because the offside front wheel is pretty much pointing straight ahead, whereas if I bring you around to the near side front, you will see it's on the piss. Yeah, it's pointing a little bit out, so there's clearly an alignment issue there, but that's fine. The alignment will be done, just not today. I was hoping to take the car out for a little road test, but it's absolutely pouring outside and obviously the alignment isn't right. These tyres, from what I've read, they are not very good in wet weather conditions, so yeah, even more of a reason to leave the first drive for another day. It would have been nice to do it today, but c'est la vie. Now, the reason why I've gone for the Nankang NS-20s, they wouldn't be my first choice of tyre. I've got nothing against Nankang. I've got AR1s for my MX-5, for Monique, my MX-5. But this is pretty much the only tyre you can get in this rather peculiar size of 175/5014. But anyway, I am waffling. Let's drop Bella down and see how she looks. Oh, okay. Not too bad. I like that. So if I bring you down here, you'll see that looks rude. I like that. Yep, I'm happy with that so far. The back is pretty decent, but it's still space for the shoe. So yeah, still fails the shoe test, unfortunately. Having said that, the suspension does of course need time to settle. So yeah, I'm sure as time goes by, she may sink a little bit further. So what I've got left to do now, apart from obviously the alignment, but like I say, that'll be another day, or just realised that's kind of wonky. So I need to re-secure the tops. So put all these in, tighten that up as well, and then we're good to go. Oh yes, we need to listen to the exhaust as well. I almost forgot about that. Got so caught up in the coilovers that I forgot about the exhaust. Now, one thing I do just want to double check, if I zoom you guys out, you're not going to see, I'm going to be out of frame, but I just want to see whether or not I ran out of battery, apologies. Actually, I may as well bring you around here. From what I can see, I've done a pretty good job of getting the ride level. It may be 1 or 2 millimeters out, but from where I'm looking, she doesn't look drunk, so that's always a good sign. But yeah, just bring it. If I bring you around here, you'll just see the toe on that near side front is towing out a bit. So yeah, that'll just be a case of adjusting it. That should be nice and easy, providing that the track rod ends and the inner tie rods want to play ball and they're not seized up. This should be okay. I have put some penetrating oil on them, so when it comes to doing the alignment, hopefully I shouldn't have any problems. But yeah, like I say, all I've really got left to do now is torque the wheels, obviously reattach the top fixings for the strut assemblies, torque them down to the spec, which is 25 Newton meters, and then clean up really. So yeah, let's do that. Right, I'm gonna get some tunes on the go. Get me in the mood. Okay, so I really ought to get out of here because yeah, it's taken a little bit longer than I would have anticipated, but it always does when you're filming modifications or repair work. It's just how it is. Anyway, without further ado, let's hear the exhaust. Now, I haven't cheated and listened to it before filming this piece of video. This is genuinely the first time I'm starting the car. Now, I think I did leave it in gear, so yeah, I did leave it in gear. Okay, I'll be ready. 3, 2, 1. A nice deep tone. Now I will give it a few blips, but I won't go mad because A, the engine is cold, and B, I do not want to annoy the neighbours, particularly as I'm at my place of work. Yeah, I don't want to dump on my own doorstep, so to speak, but we'll just give it a little one or two blips. Oh, that sounds naughty. Let's knock it off. Oh, that does sound naughty. Annoyingly, the weather was starting to clear up and it was sunny. I thought, oh, maybe I will do a little road test, but the heavens have just opened again. It's a very sporadic day out there, but that's typical UK weather. But yeah, look at that tip. Oh, that is naughty. At this point, I want to say a big thank you to Phil, one of the guys I work with here. He fabricated the centre pipe, which allowed us to finally fit this exhaust, because this has been a bit of a debacle. Today was the third time, well, the third attempt of fitting it, but you know what they say, third time lucky. So yes, exhaust done, coilovers done, and tyres replaced. So yeah, a successful day. All we need to do now is the alignment. I've just realised I was meant to clean and grease one of the brake pipes today, and I completely forgot to do that. That will have to wait another time. Oh well. So guys, there we have it. New coilovers fitted, check. New tyres, check. And a Fruity Sports exhaust, check. Bella, you have been spoilt today. Of course, the wheel alignment is an outstanding task that will have to wait until another point in time. Speaking of points of time, please do stick around on the channel, because later this year, June specifically, I will be going on a Welsh road trip with fellow YouTuber and Seicento Sporting owner Miller Corner. So you won't want to miss that one, let me tell you that now. I'm sure there will be plenty of banter and plenty of laughs. Until then, and until the next video, if you have enjoyed this video or found it useful, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.